Hello, everybody. I'm Ashleigh King, and I'm so delighted to have been invited to share my startup journey with you. So I first went to Newcastle Startup Week last year, 2019 in May, and it was so much fun. I bought my ticket in November of 2018. And I, at the time, just really wanted to surround myself with people who were maybe a bit more innovative, curious, thinking outside the box. And I was so interested in entrepreneurship, but I didn't know anything about it at the time. So at the time of going to Newcastle Startup Week, my situation had changed since first buying a ticket. And actually, I had found myself redundant. So I was going through this horrible time where I was thinking, well, what can I do with myself? What will I be able to do? I don't feel confident to go for interviews or anything like that. So really, do I have some skills that maybe somebody would pay for? What could I do? And so I had this idea of going and doing a wedding planning business and going and making beautiful venues and, really creative events. And that was my initial business idea. I went along to Newcastle Startup Week and I met so many people, and just the visibility of uh, it was so inspiring just seeing the amazing people there that I got to see. So I know that we can't be in person with each other this year, but I hope that we will still network to our heart's content and also hear from great speakers. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is why you're weird is you're wonderful. That probably sounds like such a strange theme, but I thought it would be a good one because I have throughout my life had feedback from people before about different things, that maybe are a bit weird, or things I've got in trouble for, or just stuff that I always didn't like about myself. So as a kid, I was always in detention for chatting. I would just always get in trouble for talking in class. And so I had this brilliant headmistress, and she was really progressive because I was living in South Africa and it was quite a strict environment in school. But she started something called the Chatterbox Club. So if you were naughty and you were always chatting, actually she taught you skills to improve your communications. So you might learn how to debate, how to do presentations, how to write letters, how to write stories, how to do interviews, all these different things. So at 9, that was just such a powerful place for me to go and to utilize all those chatting skills to the best of my ability. The reason I'm telling you about that is it's so funny. I mentioned that I started a business, but what I'm doing now, a year after going to Newcastle Startup Week for the first time, is completely different to what I did a year ago. So, I did do all kinds of events, beautiful, stunning, creative events. I did an Afrofusion festival with some brilliant performers. I did a celebration of Malaysian culture for Newcastle University. I worked on some fabulous charity events and fundraising initiatives. But what I found is, as a startup at the beginning, I just had this fear around asking for money, asking people to to pay me. And that was a big part of my startup journey, and something I'm so grateful to Newcastle Startup Week and to the amazing people I've met, because it's really supported me in my growth over the last year as a person. Now, there's something that happened at Newcastle Startup Week last year that really changed my life, and it comes back to chatting. So I met 3 people at Newcastle Startup Week that I didn't realize were going to be so impactful and powerful for me as a person. So they were Paul Lancaster, who obviously runs Newcastle Startup Week and has become a very important mentor to me. Also Tim Lizinski from TL Multimedia, and Paul Scurrer from That Branding Company, and also Blind Sea Photo. So those 3 men are very, very important, and I'll tell you why. I do also want to say I met loads of other wonderful people at Newcastle Startup Week. I'm not going to name names because I might forget someone and I could offend them. But I do want to say that what I didn't realize is, just on a whim, I participated in Tim's Mind Your Business podcast. So he was basically going around and he was asking people about, what they do, what their business idea is. And I'm actually at the end of the call going to share where you can find that if you're interested. It's really short, it's a couple of minutes. But if you hear it, you'll hear how nervous I was and how scared I was, but also how excited I was and just the energy of Newcastle Startup Week. So I shared how, I wanted to work in events and I wanted to, do all these different things. So very much what I shared before, I wanted to do creative events, help charities and things like that. And the funny thing is, I don't actually think the podcast was that good, as in the quality that Tim did was brilliant, but I, was a bit shy and things like that. But I got quite a lot of people saying to me, wow, Ash, you've got a good voice for radio, you've got a good voice for podcasting. And it's funny because I've also had people ask if they could hire me to do voiceovers for things before. I guess I have an unusual accent. I'm originally from South Africa and then grew up in the northeast of England from age 14 onwards. So people always think I'm Canadian or, Irish or sometimes Australian or New Zealand. So yeah, I guess I've got an unusual voice, and so it makes people want to know and listen sometimes to figure out where you're from. But I went on Tim's podcast and I loved it so much. And I knew I was going to be a student in the September. So I decided to start doing this podcast, and it was going to be called MBA with Ash. That is actually a separate podcast, which I do, but I decided to do something that would be more mainstream, that I could talk to people from all walks of life, but ideally creatives, people in the tech sector, entrepreneurs, who would inspire me and inspire my listeners to really think about their life in a different way. So that brought me back to why I wanted to go to Newcastle Startup Week in the first place, which was all about, what is it about people who are innovative or entrepreneurial, who think in a different way? What is it that makes them like that? It's that curiosity. So the people I wanted to reach were the people like me, where I had been in an office, I had been stuck in jobs, and I'd wanted more for myself. And so those were the people that I wanted to reach. So I decided to start doing a podcast, and I spoke to Tim about it, and I spoke to Paul Scurry, and we kind of came to an agreement about sponsorship and some arrangements where I would be able to go into Tim's studio and, go and record. And, he really took a chance on me, just like Paul Scurry did. And then I decided to reach out to people that I really admire and who I find inspirational. So people like Herb Kim, who has been really supportive of me in the past, because I'm also president of TEDx Newcastle University and executive producer of that, whereas he is the same of TEDx Newcastle, so we collaborate a lot. So yeah, I reached out to a lot of people who I felt were just so exciting and inspirational and doing different things. And I was so delighted when they decided to come on my podcast as well. So, Paul Lancaster was episode 3, I believe, yes. And also Michael Owen was very kind enough to come on the show. I think when you're a fresh entrepreneur, and I used to call myself a baby entrepreneur, I wouldn't say that I necessarily would call myself that anymore, but there's something about putting yourself out there and just the opportunities that come up for you. You have to take them by the horns. You have to throw yourself out there and put yourself forward. So there is something called Founders Friday, which is a small sample event of Newcastle Startup Week. It happens usually in Newcastle the last Friday of every month. And that became for me almost like a little spiritual home as a baby entrepreneur, because I was able to hang out with some amazing people, and I've really developed such strong friendships through that group. I've had the opportunity to speak there on 2 occasions about my business. So that's been incredible, because actually, as I mentioned, my business has adapted. So I've been able to share some of my struggles and actually get some advice and tips while I've been there. I've been able to share when I had my podcast, when it first came out. I also have found that through the entrepreneurial networking community around me, sure, I might have had some people on my show, but also when I launched my podcast and had a party to celebrate, we couldn't fit any more people in Tim's studio. It was jam-packed. Honestly, it was so busy. So I have to say that there are people who will look out for you and see that you have skills and gifts. And I want to come back to that thing that I said at the beginning about why you're weird is you're wonderful, because I was always so over the top enthusiastic and chatty and exuberant, and I just always used to think that I was too much for some people, and that used to really get me down. So I would try really hard to get back in my box and kind of rein back my personality a lot. um and actually being able to be around people that are real go-getters and doers and put themselves forward for things, it's really taught me that actually if I'm not tapping into those skills and the things that make me weird, then actually I'm not really living the best version of myself. So your weird does make you wonderful. I want to show you something. Actually, this is a really personal thing, so I hope it's going to make you smile like it makes me smile. But I remember being in a job where I just felt so stuck, and that's why the people I want to reach with my podcast are also that type of avatar. They've been stuck, they're sitting in an office looking around thinking, what would my life be like if it was different, if I could just have a bit more creativity, a bit more spark, a bit more just something that just lights them up. So we never see ourselves the way that other people see ourselves. A good friend of mine, again, who I've met through entrepreneurial stuff, but who really liked my life and English, said to me that everyone has a superpower. And I just love the idea that we don't see ourselves the way other people do. So sometimes you don't know your superpower. And what I'm wanting to say to you here is, uh, everyone has a message to share with the world. So for me, overcoming adversity and wanting to talk about that and wanting to just, excite people and help them to find their zest, which is what my podcast is called, Nurture Your Zest. It's all about passion and living and life and, just courage and creativity and curiosity. So with that, I want to show you something, which is how somebody else saw me, and it's really touched me. So this is a little prop. So this is Ash, and this is was made for me by a lovely former colleague at Newcastle University. She's really sweet. She's got little pearl buttons, but the most cute thing is her sparkly blue shoes and her little bow. And even best, I really want to show you this bit because it's a bit naughty. But if you lift up her skirt, she has Ashleigh written on her bum, on her knickers, the big granny knickers. But the reason why I want to show you that is somebody took the time. Her name's Steph. She's an amazing friend of mine. But Stephanie took the time to sit and sew that and make that. And I was honestly so moved and touched when I got this. I cried so much. But just the idea that somebody would take the time to think of you that way. I'm just going to quickly put my glasses on and show you. So I have very particular glasses, and as you can see, so does my beautiful dolls. That's really sweet. I love it. But yes, the fact that somebody would see me in a way that I wouldn't see myself in a time when I wasn't feeling so good really just showed me that I had something that I wanted to share with the world. I wanted to help people to think in a different way and to find their path, or to just spark something different. So I feel that Newcastle Startup Week has done that for me. The theme this year is all about starting something. That is why I wanted to do something a little bit about, well, what has my year been like? And honestly, the opportunities that have come up, the opportunities to speak. I've been asked to go and guest lecture at Northumbria University, Newcastle University. There's just been so many things that have come up, client work that's come up. Even since launching the podcast, I'm getting 3,000 website views a week. I've had brilliant guests, and I've just landed a recent guest, which was amazing. And I think one of the things about entrepreneurship that's really important is the space to create, but to try things. Sometimes things do not go well, and I have had some times in the last year where I haven't done things well. We've already spoken about them, like not charging properly, not having the courage to say no to work that you don't really want to do. There's so many things like this, and it really is a journey, but it's so much easier when you have fantastic people around you. Um, Recently, with the lockdown, I think it's fair to say people are going through an incredibly hard time, especially in our startup community and our SMEs. Some of us don't qualify for furlough or for various grants, or like for myself, I'm a hot desker. I usually hang out at Tuss Park, but for many of us, we don't qualify for certain things. So I think it's also about having the courage to try new things to bring in new income streams. And on that note, I wanted to share, we've all been beginners at something at some point. So last October, last when I first went on Tim's podcast in May, I was a brand new podcaster, had never done it before. In August, decided to do the podcast and launch 6 weeks later in the September. And the reason I mention that is I am now teaching a course on how to launch a podcast in 6 weeks, which is just crazy. I can't even believe that I'm doing that. It's just amazing that people would want to send me messages now and say like, hey Ash, how do I podcast? Hey Ash, can you help me with this? So there is something inside you that is waiting to get out and just be shared with the world. You have a gift, and it's just letting people see it, giving yourself permission to shine. I can't wait to hear what your gifts are, but I also can't wait to hear if anyone wants to podcast or wants to try a new thing, or what makes you weird. Please comment on this post, or wherever Paul puts this video. I can't wait to hear what it is that you find weird that is actually wonderful, because if somebody has taken the time to see something in you and help you towards that, that's really powerful. So I don't want to labor the point. I just wanted to share some hopefully inspirational and enthusiastic things, because that's what I'm known for, being zesty. And I just want to show you very quickly how you can find out more about my course. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen with you, if you just give me one moment. And I'm really excited to do that. So I'm just going to do that now, just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and this is my website, and it's called Nurture Your Zest. So if you go on the bit called Learn to Podcast, and I will be sharing these links with Paul, you can come on here and you can find out about how to get your podcast started with Ashleigh King, which is me, how you can set up fast, how you can save yourself time and money. And all you need to do is click on this button, the purple button here, join our first cohort. You'll go through to a landing page and you'll need to enter some information. Please make sure that you do opt in for emails, otherwise I can't email you and it makes it really frustrating for both of us. But yes, that's basically all you need to do. If you're scared of podcasting, but you still think it would be fun, or you want to give it a try, please do that. I should have mentioned initially, actually, one of the things I'm great at is helping people to get more visibility online. And that's how I've brought myself clients, how I've grown my podcast, but also helped others with their visibility. So if you're a brand new entrepreneur, or even one who's been existing for a while and needs some extra support on how to get more visible, get more clients, get more reach, get more people looking for you, looking at your website, looking at stuff, then please also consider getting in touch for a call. Actually, till the end of June, every Friday, I'm giving away 4 hours of my time to chat to people for free about how they can be more visible. So if you want to, or you're interested in that, then please also send me a message on LinkedIn. The last thing I wanted to do just before I stop showing my screen is there is a space on my website called Guest, and I'm going to go on there, and I just wanted to point out to you where the Nurture Your Zest journey started. So if you go onto the guest page, you'll see this page called Mind Your Business Podcast. And you can watch that, listen back to the podcast with Tim, and you'll see it was only actually 3 minutes 24, but that was the kind of thing that launched my whole podcasting initiative, and I love it so much. And now I've been on all sorts of different podcasts as a guest, but also have my own. So I'm really excited that you are making the time and investment into yourself at Newcastle Startup Week today, whatever part of your journey you're at, whether it's a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. as an entrepreneur. Well done to you for having the courage to just be curious and to think outside the box. And I really hope we can connect. And thank you so much for watching. And I would like to say goodbye. And so would Ash. So we'll see you soon, hopefully face to face at another event. But thank you so, so much. Bye.